everybody to what is going to be a monumental episode. We got another film ranking here on Uninformed Movie Reviews. It's Bong Joon-ho time, everyone.
안녕하세요.
What? We got myself, David, here. We have Frank, who may or may not be ducked. And we got Danny.
Heyo.
So, guys, I'm excited. I mean, Bong Joon-ho, probably most people know him from Parasite, winning Best Direction and Best Picture a few years back. I think it was 2000. But the man's got 7 films, and we're here today to rank those 7 films in order of how much we like them. And if you've never seen one of our ranking episodes before, we kind of argue about it / debate / bargain, and we come up with one list.
Yeah, sometimes we're on the same page. Sometimes we argue until Signs is the is the ultimate winner.
Any predictions today, guys?
I was waiting for that one.
I was telling Danny I think this is going to be a divisive episode.
I was almost pretty sure we were going to be on the same page.
I feel like I say this every time, but I feel like there's just as good as a chance of us being on the same page and like being split. But I think we're gonna have a lot of similars, even though there's gonna be like some arguing. Yeah. Like I would almost bet we all have the same number 7. That's the one I feel the most confident about.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I feel like our number 7 will match up. I feel like our number 1 will match up. But
might could.
Who knows?
We'll see.
Might could.
So the movies we're talking about today, in order of release, we have from the year 2000, Barking Dogs Never Bite. 2003's Memories of Murder, which I know I'm going to mess up throughout this episode. Then we have 2006, The Host. 2009, Mother. Not that one. No exclamation point. 2013's Snowpiercer. The Netflix original Okja in 2017. And then the Oscar winner, 2019's Parasite.
Correct.
You keep wanting to say Memories of a Murder, don't you?
Yes, Memories of a Murder.
Memoirs of a Murder.
Yeah,
Memories of a Geisha.
Murder, She Wrote.
Okay, well, how about we kick it over to Frank? Frank, give us your pitch for number 7, and let's see where we're at.
My number 7, I have 2000's Barking Dogs Never Bite.
Oh.
Woof, woof.
You as well.
I don't. What do you have, Danny?
Mine is Memoirs of a Murder, She Wrote.
That's crazy.
Interesting. That is crazy. Mine is Mother.
Wow.
Whoa.
I don't know.
Whoa. Okay. Well, any confidence I had about this list going into it just went out the window.
Just off the bat, fellas, I gotta say, Mother is a little higher up for me, but I don't feel comfortable putting it at the bottom. No way. I could suffice a 6th place.
I have Mother so much higher.
Yeah.
Interesting. My Barking Dogs is smack dab in the middle. I'll be honest, I'm not, I won't be upset if we move it down. I could live with it.
Hey, this is another episode we should have had a caveat at the beginning, like the Wes Andersons. Like, the thing is, like, none of these are bad. Yeah. I enjoyed every single one of these movies, watching them, getting ready for this.
For real.
That's true. Even though, and then that's saying something too, because it's all of these movies are at least almost 2.5 hours long, and it's a lot of reading. But
not if you speak Korean.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops.
If you had taken the time to learn Korean, you would have done almost 0 reading.
That's a fair point.
That's what I did to get ready for the episode.
But I also agree with the caveat. All of these are a work of love, and it shows through each and every movie, especially through Barking Dogs Never Bite.
In a show of good faith, I'm willing to say, shoot, why not? Let's go Barking Dogs Never Bite.
Yeah, I could do that.
Can I lead off with my argument on how I arrived at it being the 7th out of 7?
Give it to us.
I just feel like technically it was the weakest, which isn't like to put anybody down. It was just the man's first like feature film release, and it shows a little bit. That being said, like originally going into it, just watching it, synopsis, Daddy, do you want to hit us with the synopsis really quick?
Of course I would. So Barking Dogs Never Bite is a just completely insane movie, really, that introduces our kind of dark humor, as well as just sort of the, and when I say dark humor, I mean very dark, like darker than we're used to in the U.S. Basically, without giving too much away, a man living in a massive apartment complex is being driven crazy by a barking dog, and his solution is to murder this dog. And we sort of have a snowball effect throughout the movie, where I mean, we just find out that he's not the only one killing dogs in this apartment complex. And
Far from
I don't know.
it.
I feel like I don't want to say too much, because I feel like it's kind of a movie about exploration.
Yeah.
But that's sort of where we start off. It's a little bit about being driven insane. A few episodes ago, we talked a little bit about like Edgar Allan Poe, like the telltale heart kind of thing. There's some of it where it's like, is this dog even real? Like the barking anyway. But needless to say, I'll leave a little more to chew on. But maybe you could hit us with the numbers, Frank.
Yeah, so just going into it, I thought it was going to be a spite rank, just getting it at 7, because I was like, how can I back this movie about these dogs being killed and abused? And even so, I almost put in my notes like, and as soon as he kicked that tiny little dog, I was out. I planned to stop watching it, and it went like another 5 minutes, and I was in for the rest of the ride. Man, it's a great movie. With its 110-minute runtime, currently has a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb and 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. Some of these numbers were harder to find than others. This one included. Was made on a budget of the USD equivalent of about $800,000 and has currently worldwide grossed $45,853.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I'd never heard of this movie.
No.
This movie is cool because it's got like the first instance of Bong Joon-ho's, like we were saying, dark humor, and really gives what I felt like was insight to a Westerner into like what poverty in South Korea is like, or just even lower middle class,
yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's important to, like, it's a painting of what middle class working family existence is in South Korea, which is a running theme in these movies. They're all kind of a reflection of capitalism, exploding in South Korea, and how it's created a caste system.
Yeah, that's a great point. I would say like all of his overarching themes and his staple as a director and himself that you can probably find in every movie is about caste systems and hierarchies and your place in line and observing places in line. You know what I mean? Even in something so off the path such as The Host. I feel like The Host and like Okja are probably two outliers from his Okja less so from like his point of view. I mean, from his distinct taste, what he's saying. You know what I mean? His flavor.
Yeah, I can see that.
Speaking of flavor, I had to look up like how much of a problem is dog eating in Korea right now. So this movie was made 20 years ago. Okay.
I feel like this is about to get into racist territory, and I'm here for it because Danny's saying it.
No, it's not racist if it's a fact. What I was saying is, so it's not explicitly outlawed in South Korea currently, but it is a practice that is typically done from older generations. There are some dog farms that are literally made for meat. But it's interesting, and you notice when you watch this movie, it's like only the people that look, at least from a observer's point of view, above 40 years old, are the ones that are partaking in nom nomming. So it's interesting because it's caused like a cultural divide in South Korea. Pretty much everyone that's our age and probably even younger than 40 is just like trying actively to like outlaw this. The fact that it's not outlawed is appalling to them.
So eating dogs is like the South Korean equivalent to like thinking people shouldn't have the right to abortions, or like
Ooh.
thinking like
It's up
millennials
there.
are lazy.
Whoa, that's a hot take. I am, I'm gonna leave that alone.
Just trying to put it in generational perspective here.
Maybe even a spicier take. If you're gonna not eat dogs, you should not eat more meat. You know what I mean? Which is, if anything, a lesson teaches us that we have a weird line, like what animals we will eat. So, I mean, I understand like people are more, I couldn't eat a dog, it's my pet. But it's like, yeah, but that cow's probably as smart as your dog. You know what I mean?
The pigs are
beat you,
smarter,
bro.
Yeah,
Yeah, pigs are smarter than dogs.
Well, there's
interesting.
meats that I won't eat because I am a fan of the animals, and there's meats that I won't eat because I think that meat's gross.
Well, that's fair.
Dog.
You know
Yeah,
what?
there's two different.
Dog probably wouldn't taste very good.
I won't eat a
but,
duck. I don't have any as friends. I just think that meat's kind of nasty.
In this movie, we have like this basement dwelling handyman. He's like one of the groundskeepers, and he's the one who like eats the first dog, right? And
the
this
guy that
ends up
tells
eating,
us
like,
about
2 dogs in 1 week.
Is this the guy that's telling us about Boiler Kim?
Yeah.
Boiler
Yes.
Kim.
Yeah. It's just kind of crazy because he's got this elaborate like setup where he's like making stew out of this dog meat. I mean, massive trigger warning. If you're a dog fan, I can't recommend this movie to you. Like, if you're like someone who calls themselves a dog mom, you need to skip this.
However, there's no brutality. Like there's one brutal scene and it's a dog getting kicked or thrown, really.
The hanging is a little rough.
Oh yeah, that's pretty rough. I'm surprised that dog was like not yiping too. I mean, trying probably, but
they say no animals were harmed, and I was like really researching. I know Frank was too. We were talking about this.
Yeah.
I don't know how. Some of this doesn't look possible. So maybe when they say that in Korea, it means a different thing.
maybe
"Oh,
there's
we
like
didn't-
a
we
standard
didn't
of
eat any
how much
dogs."
hurt they had.
Yeah.
Well, other than the dog stuff, some stuff that I really liked about this movie is, first off, this apartment complex, I can't put the words enough how massive and gigantic this thing is. It's
Pretty
almost
disgusting.
like a dystopian future, how large this apartment complex is. And it gives you such an insight into Korean culture. This one is like, for lack of a better, phrase, very Korean. Like, some of these movies don't feel like you need to understand the culture that well.
That's
but this
racist,
movie-
David.
this movie is like, and obviously it's his first film, and it was released in Korea, but there's no it almost feels as if like maybe he thought no one else would ever see it. You watch a movie like Parasite, I feel like there's a little more holding. I don't know, a little more to infer. But in this movie, there's all these different cultural things that you're just like, well, I guess that's how it is. I mean, of course, that's how it should be. But I also really love the score in this movie. It's got this really nice jazz score that's kind of like, in a weird way, sort of like Cowboy Bebop. It's very like bustling. It feels like a little manic, especially during these scenes where you can't just start eating dogs and then people don't look for them. It's basically what ends up happening in the story. So
It's also another insight to like his directorial point of view, told from 2 different perspectives at once, right? There's 2 main characters, so to speak, right? There's the gentleman with the pregnant wife who is trying to become a professor after having gone to college and jumped through all the hoops. And apparently in Korean culture in that day, maybe not everywhere, but you had to pay or like bribe your way to become an employed professor.
yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, in Korea, I guess people would just be like, oh, of course that's how it is. But as Americans, we're like, what? Really?
No, we bribed the government, the institution, and they gave me this paper.
Yeah,
and now
Yeah, I guess it works a little different here.
but yeah, so that's what's going on with him. He's really strapped for work. He's trying to get ready for his family to start anew with a new baby. And his wife is kind of up to here with his stuff. She's a very no-nonsense person, and I love her. She takes it a little far sometimes, like borderline abusive. But and then, I mean, I'm not going to know any of the names. Honestly, I can't recall. But
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to butcher it, but it's by Duna as the actress who I think you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes, the young lady that works in the convenience store with, I'm assuming, is her friend or cousin or something like that.
I think just friend. Yeah.
Okay.
Cousin.
Yeah. So she's just looking for a purpose for anything, really, right? I mean, she wants recognition.
Well, yeah. What she really wants is like notoriety. Like, she wants like people to know about her,
to like validate her existence, essentially. And you really get a good sense of that, where like there's that fantastical, whimsical feeling she's getting when she's about to rescue that dog on the roof from that one guy, you know what I mean? And she pictures everyone just like cheering her on behind her and stuff like that. And then she just wakes up to the guy just saying like, "Hey, hold that dog's up. I'm trying to skew it."
Yes. Yeah, man, that's great. I mean, this movie is hilarious. This movie is like laugh out loud funny. And you know what? This actress, we're also going to see her again
in The Host, right?
The Host. Yeah, she's the archery sister in Host,
the
and also
bronze medalist.
She's in Cloud Atlas. Not quite silver. She's in a Cloud Atlas, and she's also in this excellent Korean Netflix show called Kingdom, which is basically like a zombie show set in like feudal Korea. So there's this whole like Game of Thrones-esque political espionage story of like dethroning a king, but at the same time like a zombie outbreak that not everyone knows it's happening, and the zombies are super fast and very scary, but then you also have like really cool kung fu choreography with like some feudal weapons. It's very interesting.
That sounds cool.
But I haven't gotten all the way through it because and like you were saying earlier, it's a lot of reading, you know, and some days I don't want to sit on my couch and read for 45 minutes.
You can't just passively watch. When we sat down to watch these movies, we had to sit down and watch these movies because even in the emotion that they're conveying in the way they speak, like that'll be lost if you're not looking at the screen. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I might absolutely miss that in translation.
Definitely did a lot of backing up 10 seconds and that kind of thing, like during these watches. But totally worth the price of admission.
I really like at the end, because I feel like through the whole movie you're just like, wow, this guy's a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like he just can't get it right. He keeps messing up. He tries to kill dogs, and he's taking out his anger from he's like projecting his anger that he gets from his wife onto a small helpless being, and to like cope with himself. But then he kind of redeems himself in like almost turning himself in. But then like you also see that like his wife was actually she needs help too, but like she was actively working on giving her her severance from losing her job, and working through that and being like, I'm giving that all to you so that you can become a professor. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's just
but also she doesn't like tell him that until she has completely pushed him over the edge.
I know. It's just terrible timing.
And one of the things I've really noticed, like even in this first movie, you see like Bong Joon-ho's strength as a director in his like shot choices. There's some really amazing shots like in this one. All the stuff in the basement's really cool. The chase scene between the two main characters is like really fantastic. You really feel the action. At some moments during that chase, I felt like it was going on a little bit too long, but somehow it just kept me like tied in. The way you get all those long horizontal shots of them running across the apartment building.
Oh yeah.
Until you get that fantastic slapstick ending.
Well, another just a little gem of what he starts in this movie that goes on throughout the rest of his his films is that he is a great screenwriter when it comes to making conflicting characters that you kind of care about. You know what I mean? And that's really going to be showcased in Memories of a Murder, but like it's just like
Memories of Murder.
I did it. I was the first one to do it. But he's really good at like making a character that look like he'll start you off like hating this character, making you kind of like this character, and then like, is this character in the right? I don't know. Is anyone in the right in this movie? You know what I mean?
Lots of gray area people, sort of, kind of what you would see in a Tarantino movie, where you're like, this character is despicable, but also the protagonist, and I'm supposed to root for him, but also I hate them. Like, what exactly am I doing? It's really bizarre, but I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's one of my favorite things about him.
It is a good movie.
Danny, why don't you give us your pick for 6? What's your 6 pitch?
Well, my number 6 was Barking Dogs, but I have Memories of Murder right there. And Memories of Murder was lesser than Barking Dogs for me. Just because it is a little bit slower in pacing. And it is pretty different from Barking Dogs. But I feel like it just doesn't stick the landing at the end.
I couldn't disagree more, and I can't have Memories of Murder at 6.
I'm totally on the side with David over here. I feel like, without spoiling it, I feel like he has 3 like almost perfect films, and this is one of them for me.
Huh.
Yeah. That's weird that you say that. That's how I feel too. I wonder how close we're going to be.
I've seen you guys get closer.
So what do we...
Yeah.
So what's your 5, Danny? What's the next one?
That would be 2009's Mother.
What's your 6, David?
My 6 is Okja, but I am down to put Mother because that was my 7. So I don't know.
Whoa, that's I'd have to make a case here.
I can't put Okja there.
Do you guys want to hear what my 6 was?
Sure.
I have The Host.
I could do that.
I wouldn't be opposed to The Host. I could definitely swing Host.
It's very interchangeable for me.
Yeah, most of the neighboring movies, it's like, yeah, maybe if I was writing notes for another 15 minutes, things would have been different. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, The Host, our number 6 in 2006. The Host is in some ways a kaiju movie that is a reflection of Americans and their irresponsibility. In a lot of ways, sort of a reflection of Godzilla, which was a response to, Americans using nuclear weapons.
The Host was actually my first introduction to Bong Joon-ho. This was the first movie I ever saw from him. I just happened to see it in a Redbox, I think, and I was just like, this looks cool. Let's watch it. Oh, it's in South Korean. Oh, wow, this is crazy. This is a great movie. It's an outlier.
I've seen this cover a lot, but I never watched it because I thought the movie looked a little cheesy, and I think it is. I mean, it is intentionally.
Yeah.
But it's also a movie with like a ton of heart, and it's really like a family drama first and foremost, but with a bizarre backdropping of a kaiju movie.
Yeah, it feels like his second closest thing to like a big summer blockbuster. We'd hit it the like nail on the head later on in his career, but like at this point, it was definitely felt like it was meant for a much wider release.
Yeah, I could see that. Like I said, there's a couple of outliers in his whole like filmography, and this is definitely one that's just like, I always have to remember that this is like Bong Joon-ho, especially now that I've seen all of the rest of his movies. I'm just like, if I had seen his prior movies up to this, I'd be like, that was weird. I'd be like, that was a bit different. It's not a bad movie. It doesn't have high rewatch value for me, to be honest.
With its 120-minute runtime, currently has a score of 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb with a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. The Host was made on a budget of 12,215,500,000 won, which roughly equates to 9.5 million US dollars at the current exchange rate. Had an international opening weekend of 16.3 million and has worldwide grossed $89,433,000.
Commercially successful.
Yeah.
Just to throw this out here, and this is all information that I read on IMDb, but this was the highest grossing film to date in South Korea, like when it was released. It sold a total of 13 million tickets, which means that a little over 20% of South Korea, the country, went to watch this movie in theaters. It was such a cultural phenomenon that the creature from the movie, they made a statue of it and put it on the bank of the Han River. This is like a massive movie.
I bet you that statue still looks a lot better than the CGI monster does now.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, yeah. First thing right off the
boy.
bat, because we are CGI snobs here. Horrible CGI.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
It looks like the same CGI house that did the little aliens in Kung Pao did this monster.
Yeah, this is straight Sci-Fi Channel level CGI. It's pretty atrocious.
It's got. I could see where they would have some like hometown fondness for this movie. I can't even honestly, like, if you gave me like a pen and a paper and told me to like draw out what the monster from this movie looks like, I couldn't even like recall it for you. Like it kind of looks fishy. It's got some gills and stuff. I don't know. It's not
what
memorable.
look like vestigial arms across its body.
Usually in a monster movie, they hold off on the reveal. Like, think of the Godzilla reboot. You know, you wait the whole movie to see Godzilla. This movie shows you the monster like the second it shows up, and it's very hard to remember. It's got like a beak or something. It's sort of half octopus.
I think its mouth
half
opens
fish.
and like the mandibles, kind of like the Predator. You know what I mean? But
It's got some Trimmers vibes. Like, this could have been an unofficial Trimmer sequel, and no one would have, gotten. And sadly, like the Trimmers movies, most of the CGI looks better than this.
yeah,
Even the later
that's
ones.
saying something.
But I mean, I guess we also have to cut them some slack because, maybe we're just taking Hollywood for granted, and like the massive monolith that is Hollywood, and being able to
For sure.
spit out CGI at a high level for a cheaper amount.
I mean, I'm sure, like, yeah, it's definitely kind of it. Maybe it's some American naivete, because it's like the artists that they used were probably like top of the country. You know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
probably top of the line there. I will say though, as far as CGI goes in the Bong Joon-ho filmography, there's another instance where it gets kind of rough coming up.
Oh, yeah. Can I just shout out, the movie opens up with Scott Wilson, an actor who is an American actor, and you guys might recognize him as Herschel from Walking Dead.
Oh.
Yeah, he got new
which is-
legs, Lieutenant Herschel.
It's weird too, because we're gonna see Glenn in another Netflix movie, or in another Bong Joon-ho movie. Scott Wilson is pouring what can only be known as a shitload of chemicals into the Han River.
They say in the movie it's like just formaldehyde, which is like a
Embalming
preserve,
fluid.
like it's just embalming fluid. You know what I mean? So it was the one note that I was like, I don't know if that'll cause mutations. Probably just kill everything.
Yeah, and then there's also like a line about he only pours it out because there's dust on the bottles, and then they're like, we should dispose of this properly. He's like, no, just flush it down the drain. This is a true story. This actually happened.
No.
And that's actually the reason why they ended up pouring it out. And it's like, that's the quote from the U.S. Army officer who told him, no, just pour it right into the water supply. So there's this is another reason why maybe this movie resonates so well in South Korea, because it's like he made something off a real event, and just good old American. Like, they'll deal with the problem later. Sort of
Very
mentality, which is
blasé
pretty
about
amazing.
just putting deadly chemicals in water.
Dude, and that like army general, his problem wasn't the dust. He just needed a reason to humiliate the like South Korean assistant who like was in there. You know what I mean? He just felt like belittling somebody that day, and then he poisoned a river because of it.
And with the poisoning too is a beautiful shot that really just like without words shows you how much this is, because it just starts panning on this formaldehyde and it keeps going, and like you're like, how much more can it be? It's so much chemicals that they just poured directly into the drain.
I'll also
Yikes.
say a little foreshadowing for the title of this movie, as it is another having to do with casteism and surviving off of another being, much like Host
Yes.
and something else coming up.
We have in this movie the main character Park Gang-do, who is played by Kang Ho Song, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering these. I'm doing my best, but
No, you
dude,
did
Kang
good.
Ho Song is like
He's my guy.
he's a monster, dude. I mean, he is the Korean version of like Gary Oldman. The man can just take on a role and just crush it and just play completely wildly different characters. Although Bong Joon-ho, I think, and maybe this is more the director and the writer, but he likes to have a protagonist that's a little pathetic, that's a little like just completely inept. And this is a perfect example. And in this movie, he basically plays like a loser who is living with his father still. And they own this weird sort
like
of
a
restaurant
kiosk.
that it's a kiosk that like people order food and then he brings it out to them on these blankets that are right on the shore of the river, which is where, our whole movie kind of kicks off. But
It sounds stupid, but I'm sure there's somewhere in the world where they'll charge you $30 just to have a blanket and have like a picnic right next to like water.
Easily.
dude. I also
Easily.
wanted just to shout out, like, this guy has been on the channel before, Kang Ho Song. From our vampire episode, he's the protagonist in Thirst, that movie that I was talking about. So if you guys haven't had your Korean fill yet, you need a little bit more.
Still need to watch. That will be on my movie resolutions for sure.
If anything, maybe we just need to do Park Chan-wook ranking, get some Old Boy, some sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
That could be fun. Could be fun. I do like. There's a lot of really solid humor in this one for sure. Where the whole chaos of the original monster coming out, people stumbling over each other. There's like a dog attacking his owner for no reason that I got a really funny kick out of. I feel like that the chubby dude running away in his 69 shirt is like my spirit animal. I something about that guy really resonated with me. I really enjoyed him as a character for his short run. If anybody knows, please comment below. There's like a no bugling sign on the beach. Is that a real thing? Like,
It's
what
to
does it
keep-
mean?
It's
Why-
to keep the Chuck Mangionis away, dude.
Not Chuck Mangione fans in South Korea.
Hey, Mangione played horn, I'm pretty sure. He played French horn. maybe.
Flugelhorn, wasn't it?
Flugelhorn, yeah, you're right. You're totally right.
So Chuck's still welcome at the shores of Seoul.
This is a running thing, and I hope I didn't miss any of them in these movies, but Bong Joon-ho loves him a good drop kick.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
in this movie, we get a drop kick when they're having the service for the host victims. So like, really, the biggest plot device is that our loser character Park Gang-do, he loses his daughter. His daughter gets taken by the monster at the beginning of the movie. We'll see her again as well. She plays the daughter in Snowpiercer, so it's like their second time playing father-daughter. They're having a memorial service because they think she's dead at this point in the movie. And they're getting drunk and causing this giant scene. Dude straight up just comes in and does a little drop kick. It's not a full-blown drop kick like in some of these other movies, but we do get a nice opening drop kick. And I love seeing it throughout these movies. It's something that I just got so excited about.
I was going to say, I think that I'm trying to figure out which movie has the most. I'm not trying to spoil, but I'm pretty sure Memories of Murder has the most drop kicks. I think I counted something like 5 in the entire movie.
It's
Well,
incredible.
if your drop kick doesn't hit anything, is it still a drop kick? So you might have to subtract one there.
It's just a dumb
That
fall.
change-
Yeah.
That changes my entire ranking system. I'll have to see.
Give it 5 out of 5 drop kicks. Another thing is, you're saying that Bong Joon-ho has a thing of writing his protagonist as being a little bit like like losers, a little pathetic, but he also has a thing of writing very loving fathers, at least father figures. You know what I mean? Whether or not they're successful, they're still super proud of like their kids, no matter what. Which I'm pretty sure is a theme in like, it's definitely in Parasite, definitely in The Host. I think even
Maybe-
in Snowpiercer. Well, no.
Maybe not Oakja. That grandpa has really low emotional intelligence.
He's
definitely
very
not
much about
memories.
money.
Yeah, and definitely not memories of a murder. That's for sure.
No.
Memories of Murder.
Ah, damn it. I was looking right at it too. I was like reading it and I still added the
We have to get a counter going for this episode. Anything else on The Host, boys?
No, I feel like the end lost me a little bit. Just the pacing gets a little bit weird where you're like, wait, has it been like, is this the same day? Is it like a week later? Like what is going on right now? Just that and like how poorly aged the CGI is, the early monster reveal. That's really why it landed at the number 6 spot for me.
There's a lot of like at the end of the movie, people getting knocked unconscious for unknown amounts of time and then waking up and being completely coherent right when they need to be. That is a little messy for sure.
Yeah.
Well, as the host of this episode, I'm going to move us on over.
Well done.
To, I guess, what my pitch for 5 is. And I'm saying, y'all, I think it's Mother time. You know what I mean? Mother was my 7. Danny, it was his 6.
No,
Frank,
it's my 5.
When is your Mother? Oh, it's your 5. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Danny.
Mother is my 5.
Wow. I have Mother at 2.
Whew. I cannot go that high.
Yeah. I figured that's why I'd go ahead and put it out there now because I'm so far away from you guys. But 5 is crazy to me.
I have I guess a bargain here or a barter. I'd be willing to give Mother at least one more spot in exchange for hitting Okja, because Okja was my 6.
I have Okja at 5.
Darn.
So I'm totally
I guess
cool with that.
I'm the outlier here because Okja is higher for me.
I could go
and you
either
know
way.
what? I
Both
remember
of-
you telling me how much you enjoyed Okja. You seemed like really all about it. And while I was watching it, I just kept thinking like, really?
Whenever I have those moments, I think of Jason Bateman in Arrested Development when he's like, her?
Yeah. Yeah. Okja was very egg to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I love Egg. I mean, Anne.
Yeah.
I am not as contested against Okja being put down because
In order to make room for Mother at 4.
yeah, I could put Mother. I mean, I could put Okja down there and have Mother next. It's
Let's
just
do it.
concerning me how high Memories of Murder is.
It should concern you. You apparently have very wrong opinions about movies. Might need to see
Okay.
somebody about that.
So I guess we're talking about Okja next in what has to be PETA's favorite movie of the last 20 years.
Oh boy.
Okja is a story about a young girl raising a super pig that will be sent to the factory. And we have some competing forces here, some great character actor work. And ultimately what ends up being a very morally ambiguous and very challenging movie as far as like, what are we trying to say? And can I agree with it? I don't know. It's Okja.
I feel like that's a running theme for all his movies, though.
Very challenging movies. Very challenging movies indeed. Frank, you want to give us the good old numbers?
Number time, Okja with its 120-minute runtime has a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb and an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. Made on an estimated budget of $50 million, had an opening weekend of $597,600 and a worldwide gross of $2,049,823.
To be fair, it was never released in theaters in the U.S. It is a 2 Netflix movie.
Okja is one of 3 Bong Joon-ho movies that are in the Criterion Collection, so you can get it on Blu-ray if you want.
That's strange.
It's also sort of a hybrid like it's made for American audiences for sure, but large chunks of the movie are in Korean, so it's got a bit of a hybrid sort of a casting as well. We get Tilda Swinton, who's killing it, Jake Gyllenhaal, who's hilarious, Giancarlo Esposito, who's okay, and Paul Dano, which the man always does good work.
And who else?
think
America
It's
and
fine.
South Korea's sweetheart, Steven Yeun.
True that. Yes, I feel like I was gonna make a point and then I forgot what it was. But yeah, pretty delightful little romp. The like super safety first eco terrorists are a bit much. This might be one of Paul Dano's roles where he like screams the least, second only to Little Miss Sunshine. Because because he does get the one scream in, but he's silent the rest of the movie. So
It's one of his few roles where you don't want to punch him so bad you might punch your TV.
Doesn't he yell at Steven Yeun when he's talking about how the translation job is sacred?
yes,
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
but he also has the full on breakdown in Little Miss Sunshine. So I feel like, and he doesn't talk the rest of the movie, so they're one ups.
He's the most
I've never
punchable in There Will Be Blood, though. That is peak punchable Paul
Oh.
Dano.
Yeah. Or is
Which is not a knock on Paul Dano. It's actually like I'm
Incel
praising
Riddler
him.
is also pretty high up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was praising him in There Will Be Blood. In the Riddler, it's like it's more constructive criticism.
It's a constructive punch.
Oh goodness. I really liked Tilda Swinton's braces on like the Good Twin.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a really nice touch, and then to hit it with the like uncomfortably large like white teeth, like when you do the time jump. Her character is just like phenomenal. She might be like one of the standouts in this movie for sure.
It looks. I know there's only two, but it looks like Tilda Swinton talks to Bong Joon-ho, and she's just like, "Look, I'll only be in this movie if I can just go crazy over the top, almost unbelievable over the top."
Listen, I just saw Johnny Depp in the Willy Wonka movie, and this is kind of what I'm feeling. I want to be Meat Wonka.
Did you guys maybe you had the same reaction, but our protagonist, who's a little girl in this movie, her name is Mija, and it kept cracking me up the whole time.
Yep, got me every time.
Because it means girl in Spanish if you guys don't speak Spanish. I mean, and by guys
Means
I mean the
my
listener.
daughter.
Yeah. Hilarious.
Yeah, I did get a chuckle every time they were like, I saw Mija on the screen.
Mija. It's even spelled the same way, right? Am
Yeah.
I
It's like,
mistaken?
wow, we're not so different after all.
I did love the just the overall like misleading of corporate America, which kind of like drove the plot, which was just like, you know, like Hormel and like Oscar Mayer, they're like, all right, we're gonna get on this natural organic fad and show people what we care by changing our packaging to having leaves on it
Yeah, what if we put more green on the meat?
and saying natural. And we're going to have this contest where farmers can raise the biggest pig and it's going to be fun for everyone. And then we're actually going to turn it into lunch meat.
Yeah. It's a bit of a dystopian future where there's not enough meat to feed everybody. So they kind of genetically create this super pig who in this case is Okja, is Miha's pig. And I guess the contest is to see who can raise the fattest pigs, and they're going to genetically clone those pigs. Well, what
They
exactly
don't
is
say
the
that.
case?
Yeah,
I
not
think
just,
that the explicit part is that they're just going to win a prize.
yeah, and it's not just the fattest, but it's also like a an efficiency thing. They want them to like consume less food and like poop less, and it's all these criteria to meet. But yeah, they're basing the rest of the production. At least the plan was to base the rest of the production line off of the best pig. Originally, in the original plan, Okja wouldn't have been eaten, but she would have been like what the scientists wanted to do to ET and ET, just poke and prod and all that kind of fun stuff.
It's
David.
very ET now that you mention that.
Yeah.
Also E.T., but David, when you were watching this, did you get any Oddworld vibes?
Oh, weird. Now that you mention it, the whole ending factory is very Oddworld. Even Okja's design seems like it could be a creature out of Oddworld. That's very interesting. Very, hey, Abe. You can definitely feel that kind of vibe.
You can see like the outside slaughterhouse, even like the backdrop at the end is kind of like, it just looks like a straight up backdrop out of Oddworld. But yeah. And, Oddworld's also like a commentary on corporate America and just like big suits. And essentially they start turning slaves and cleaners into meat so that they can sell it as something new and tasty. It's the product.
New and
Some
tasty,
long pig.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I put this movie as my 6, and part of it was just because, and I am recognizing that it's a complex take, but it's something I think gets a little bit muddled. So they're sort of suggesting that like any factory farming is unethical, I think is what Bong Joon-ho is saying. I don't know if it necessarily means if we respectfully kill Okja and raise them all on their own independent farm, if that would be better. There's a bit of it where it just seems like meat consumption bad, which I think makes it a very interesting companion piece to like Barking Dogs Never Bite, where they're just, callously eating dogs. But at the same time, the radical protesters are often not presented in a positive light all the time either, where especially like Paul Dano is maybe doing the noble act, but doing it for like a selfish reason, where it seems like a lot of them are more into being part of a movement than they are necessarily what the movement is about. So
I think if anything
gets a little interesting.
I think if anything, Paul Dano and Lily Collins's characters are the only ones in that group that seem to be doing it for non-selfish reasons. Paul Dano, I think, is doing it in more of an idealistic way and trying to like uphold the ideals of the organization to like almost a fascist degree. But the other guys in there are more lenient, or they're more about, I don't even know if they're about the message more so, but they're just, counterculture.
Except for the super thin dude who hasn't been eating it all, who I feel
that guy
like
goes hard.
Was put there just to be like,
that guy does.
Okay, yeah, you can definitely think along this line and that's okay, but you could go way too far off the end. Like, this guy's gonna die. He needs to eat something.
Yeah, because to be fair, they do appropriate Miha for like their own justification and needs, but Paul Dano does it under the assumption that she's totally on board, and that's Steven Yeun's fault because he used his selfish motives to speak for her essentially.
Yeah.
But I was just gonna say it's really just a way of saying it's like poking holes in everyone. Like, you know what I mean? Poking holes in corporate America, and then poking holes at those who fight against corporate America or claim to be fighting against corporate America, who may have just the same morals. It's like, no one's the knight on the white horse here.
With the exception of maybe Miha, who's the only one who's there just out of genuine love and concern. But everyone else is playing their own, their own little chess match with everyone else. Very interesting. I mean, I think all of them, you could rewatch it and pick up something new every time you watch it, which is really exciting. They're very deep movies. There was someone I wanted to talk about who he's just got a bit part in this movie, and I'm definitely going to butcher this one. I think it's Choi Woo-sik. He shows up in this movie as the truck driver for the corporation.
Is that who it is?
Yeah, and he's like, oh man, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. And at the end of the movie, when we have our like Ocean's 11 ending, like when George Clooney gets out of jail and Julia Roberts is like waiting there for him. We get, which happens in 2 of these movies, doesn't it? The waiting for you when you get out of jail scene.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, at the end, we see that he's joined the radicals. And you might recognize this actor also from Parasite. He's the son. And also Train to Busan.
Yeah, swinging that bat.
Great Korean movie.
I loved that part. Where he's just like, "What do I care? It's not my truck." Like,
right.
He's like, "What union do you belong to?"
It feels just like working for any corporate job. Just like, well, it's not my store.
Dude, to the point where like when Tilda Swinton, where like her yes men are trying to like damage control everything and tell her, it's not so bad, and then it cuts to the news report where they're interviewing this guy, and he's like, no, this company's totally like they are so and he's just laughing about it. It's beautiful.
Great character.
This is definitely a movie that relies more on its comedy, I think, to pull it through versus there's not really a dark humor to it. If there is a dark humor, it's very shallow in comparison to the rest of his works.
You can't be too dark in a movie where one of your main characters makes a cork gun sound when it poops,
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, it's just got some old Yeller vibes, and that might be seen as like a trite, kind of a trite thing, you know what I mean? Like a tearjerker for the purpose of being a tearjerker. Like, damn it, don't show me a cute animal if you're just gonna kill it in the third act.
I was not expecting an old Yeller reference today. I should have been.
Beautiful.
Anything else on Okja?
No.
Nah.
I do.
That
I'll
girl
rewatch
ate
this
fish. That girl ate fish that had just eaten poop. So I thought that was kind of weird. But that's all. That's all I have to say about that.
All right. Well, I think finally we have right smack dab in the middle, number 4. We've already talked about it. It's going to be Mother,
Yay!
which was my 7. And honestly, for me, it's like the top 3 I feel pretty strongly about, and the bottom 4 I could probably switch around depending on just what day of the week it is. But to get into a little bit of a plot synopsis, Mother is a story of a mother who is willing to go to like any lengths to prove that her son is innocent of murder in what's one of 2 murder mysteries from Bong Joon-ho's film catalog. We have a boy who is I don't know what it is. I mean, he's
got a developmental disability.
He has some sort of
handicap,
developmental issue. And he is framed for a murder on what seems like very flimsy evidence. And then we sort of have a slow reveal in something that almost feels a lot like Old Boy to me too. And I'm not just saying that because it's also Korean, but it's sort of like a slow reveal of evidence and flashbacks and a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Unreliable narrator going on in this movie as well. But Mother, it's a thriller. What's the numbers, Frank?
With its 129-minute runtime, Mother currently has a 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb, a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. Was made on a budget of $5 million, had opening weekend of 35,858, and that was just for US and Canada. In South Korea, the opening weekend, it was a huge hit. It immediately went to number 1, and it stayed in the top 10 for 6 consecutive weeks. Would go on to worldwide gross $17,203,710.
I would like to go off the bat and say that this movie, it's a unique take on a murder mystery, I'd say. And I feel like we can't really talk about it without going into a spoiler territory. I feel like we should just give a hot spoiler warning right now.
Should we? I almost feel like we shouldn't spoil it because I feel like these movies are
the spoiler in this movie.
Bong. Sorry.
No, I'm not going to say it. I
feel like people might not have seen it. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. I doubt that anyone listening to this has seen everything on the list. But I'm going to say to accurately argue why Mother is, well, not argue, but I want to see your point. And I don't feel like we can illustrate that if we're working around the confines of a spoiler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like I can make my argument without spoiling it if I want to get my point in here really quick. Because for me, I had Mother at 2. When I said today, I felt like he had 3 movies that to me were like, on the nose perfect. This was one of them for me.
Yeah, me too.
He the big twist at the end, the total the way things don't go necessarily the way you think they are, the lengths that some of these characters go, I just thought were, oh God, like I was watching this late night after work, just kind of, you're watching a movie late at night, your position goes from like upright and you start slumping. And there were several points of this movie that I was just back up again. Just, oh my God, I was so stoked. I can't think of a single complaint I have about this movie.
All of us had this movie at different parts of our list.
Yeah.
So Frank had it at the very top. Yeah. I had it in the middle, and David had it at the very bottom.
Yeah, I had it dead last, and not because I didn't enjoy it. Just I felt like it wasn't. What's the word I'm looking for? Just, and it's interesting because Danny's going to really disagree with this, but it didn't grab me, and it felt a little slow. And in comparison to Memories of Murder, which I felt like was a little more enthralling, this felt like a second go at some material that we've already kind of covered. And maybe it's just because I watched them all in succession. Or maybe I just wasn't in the mood when I watched this. I'm sure, again, watching it again, I might come up with a totally different ranking, but
Saying
something
this might
about
be
it, I just didn't feel as invested.
This might be a
in the
Northman for you.
characters. Yeah, little Northman. Oh, actually, real quick, just fun fact about Northman. In that episode, we were talking about how it's just Hamlet. You know what I mean? But it's actually not. Hamlet is based on the Nordic legend that Northman's based on Amleth. So if anything, Hamlet is just Northman. So we got it a little backwards there.
Darn.
Wow, William Shakespeare, that hack fraud.
Hack
Dude,
fraud.
Einhorn is Finkel? Finkel is Einhorn?
Yeah.
She's a man, baby.
I also watched this in succession. So I did watch Memories of Murder first. And then
we all watched them in the same order. I don't think we've ever done that.
Yeah. And then I watched Mother was actually the second to last movie that I watched. I didn't watch them all in order, chronological order.
So you lied.
But I did happen to watch these in successive order. I get what you're saying about taking another go at the murder mystery. It has a very similar setup to Memories of Murder. What I love about it is it's just like, if anything, there's just more despair and futility in this movie than there is in Memories of Murder. There's some comedy in this movie, but I feel like it's more sparing in comparison to Memories of Murder, because Memories of Murder, most of the comedy for me came at the expense of the cops who just do not know what the hell they're doing. And
a running theme in all these movies that law enforcement has no idea what they're doing. And they're willing to settle on the wrong answer. They don't care
to try. That's what's getting me every time, is especially in Memories of a Murder, they're just willing to pin it on a rube or something, you know what I mean, just to get it through.
You know what this movie does have? It has a double drop kick right at the top of the movie, where
That's right.
the Won Bin, the boy who's accused, at the beginning of the movie, he's a victim of a hit and run, and him and his friend go after it to teach him a lesson, I guess. And his buddy straight up just drop kicks this mirror off a Mercedes-Benz. And he goes for one too, but he fails. So we have one.
We'll call it a drop
one
kick
failure.
and a half. We'll hit it with the
Exactly.
1.5. Also, he's lucky he wasn't in China, because in China, they'll back over you to make sure you are dead. That way you can't sue them.
Jeez.
His friend's doing a little bit better detective work than the actual detectives in this story. Immediately, he's like, it's a Mercedes-Benz driving through this neighborhood. They have to be going to the golf course. And then he's right. He nails it.
This seemed like a terrible plan. I mean, obviously they didn't have too much of a plan, but these dudes mess up this guy's Mercedes-Benz and then they go after him. Like, you should have just stopped it messing up their car. It's really expensive, because in a turn of events, they end up having to pay for the damages to the car. So it's like, you guys could have just hit it and ran away and no one would have ever known, but they had to take that extra step.
They have that scene in front of the judge where it pretty much plays out like a referee calling penalties on two NFL teams. Like, oh, well, these two cancel each other out, so we just got to worry about this penalty. That's the only one we got left.
I don't even think that was the judge, too. I think that was just a detective. They were just at the station.
Yeah.
And he was just like,
Oh, that's right.
yeah.
Because he's just telling them, hey, you don't want to do all this. Like, let's just settle. Let's just settle this right here and right now.
Another classic case of South Korean justice served just
for
right.
sure. Okay, speaking of South Korean justice, something that I'd never heard of or seen before is this bizarre, we have to reenact the murder. So when someone confesses in South Korea, apparently they bring the person who's confessed or who's been found guilty for a public recreation of the murder. It's really bizarre, man. It's
That
so
happens
weird.
in Memories of Murder too, right?
Yeah, it does. Because
It does,
in
right?
Memories of Murder, I was like, maybe this is just some antiquated idea or something. But this movie, I think, is supposed to take place in 2007. So at the very least, 15 years ago, 2009. So, I mean, a little over 10 years ago, they're still doing the same thing. kind of nuts.
Maybe it's to
Really weird.
reiterate the shame they should be feeling doing it in front of someone.
I think it is.
Well, no,
Yeah.
it might be a little bit of that, but I think it's like, no, show us exactly how it happened, because if only the killer would know like exactly how this went down, like the spot that the body was laying in, how it was laying in, where you were when you like used the instrument of murder, where you were standing compared to where the victim of. I think it's like an extra confirmation thing. You know what I mean? That's why they were making such a big deal in Memories of Murder. Like, no, you weren't there. You were right here, right? And poor guy's like, yeah.
Yeah, of course I was.
Totes.
That one guy's just like, in Memories of Murder, he's just like, I have kids at home and I have a wife. I just have to do it out here. It's quiet sometimes.
Yeah, it's hilarious. You know, we've been having some technical issues here recording this. Danny's dropped out a couple times. And while Danny was dropped out, Frank and I were discussing the twist. And you know what? The more I think about this, the more I shouldn't have put this movie at 7. I feel
Right?
like I should have put it a lot higher.
This movie's great, man.
Kind of digesting this ending. I mean, it pulls no punches at the end, and it's also got this final scene that is just really, really beautiful. This like dancing scene in the bus.
Yeah.
Which is kind of bookends the movie because it's what we start off with as well.
You were talking
yeah, we
about
got Mom
in
getting down in the
Barking
forest.
Dogs. Yeah. You're talking about in Barking Dogs Never Bite how there's that wonderful soundtrack of the jazz. And when this movie started, I was just like, what is going on? And she's like, the field is so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
honestly, in the history of movie twists, this has to easily be one of my favorite, man. Like one of my favorite twists that I've ever experienced.
And I just love the matter-of-fact manner in which it like gives it to you. You know what I mean? It's just like, there you go.
It is what it is.
You know, this lady, she only has 14 acting credits, but the mom, who's portrayed by Hyaja Kim, is really good. I mean, she's excellent. She plays a really layered character. She's in a movie called How to Steal a Dog. There's a lot of dog-related things going on in Korea. Who knows what they're up to?
They're up to
How
something. They have to be.
They have to be. She's also in a movie called Mayonnaise. I mean, I'm just so intrigued. I need to see all these movies.
Mayonnaise
What
is
is
an
Mayonnaise
intriguing
about?
title. Yeah, I am also
That is
curious.
quite an intriguing title. I agree.
Y'all, there is no plot synopsis for Mayonnaise. I must know.
Well, maybe it's just as simple as it is. You know what I mean? It's just mayonnaise. It's
I'm
just
sure we have
mayonnaise.
we have a CLE spot open somewhere. You know what I mean?
There we go. Sometimes life's just mayo. Wow.
Well, when life hands you eggs, you got to make mayonnaise. You know what I mean?
Well, in an awkward way, we kind of have to call it quits on this part. We're having some technological issues. So we're going to do this as a two-parter, and we'll come back with the top 3 Bong Joon-ho movies. I guess
Who will it be?
anything else on Host before we call this a day here? Or Host, I'm sorry, on Mother?
I can't recommend it enough. If you've never seen Mother and you're not clinically depressed on the brink, I highly recommend this one.
Agreed.
Feels weird not kicking it over to like a whole bunch of other segments, but we'll have them on the back burner for you guys next time on Uninformed Movie Reviews, Bong Joon-ho ranking.